8 years ago, I got married. My wife and I were doing pretty much everything for the wedding ourselves. So there was always a lot going on in our house the couple months leading up to the wedding. One thing I was really excited and relieved that I didn't have to give any thought to was my bachelor party. Now I should just stop here and say my guy friends, as much as I love them, are not really good planners. So I wasn't expecting anything elaborate. I was actually really shocked when on a Saturday morning 2 weeks before the wedding, I came home from running errands and two of my friends were outside waiting for me to announce, "Hey Dave, this is your bachelor party." I was like, "Here, in the driveway?" But no, they informed me that I would be going on a trip, destination to be specified. I was a little freaked out because I knew there was a long to-do list for the weekend, but Mary assured me it was fine. Everything had been cleared ahead of time. She knew I was leaving and she would just see me when I got back. So I jumped in the car and we headed, what I was to learn was to Fort Frederick State Park in Western Maryland for a guy's camping trip. So we pull into the park and down a long gravel driveway to the campsite where we were greeted by the tough guy of our group, Fred, who has been there since the night before so he could get dibs on a primo campsite overlooking the Potomac River and West Virginia. He's in his camp chair, he has his safari hat on and his safari shirt and his safari shorts, and he's got a cooler of beer, and the picnic table is piled with Doritos and cheese curls, so we're ready to go for the party. So we spent a couple hours hanging out, waiting for the rest of the party to arrive. And while we're drinking beer and having some of these cheese curls, we notice the sky is getting more and more gray. And then the rain starts. A little bit at first, and then it turns into an early August downpour. So we retreat to the tents, because what else are you gonna do? You're camping, it's raining, into the tents. We're gonna try and wait it out. So we chat for a little while, and then the farting starts. Fred explains, after the first tent-shaking explosion, that this is a game he picked up in the National Guard called Sweat Lodge, where the guys in the squad cooperate to fill the tent with farts until the weak link of the group unzips the flap and heads out. As it turns out, no one else in the party wants to play Sweat Lodge. So we just go on with whatever conversation we can make up, finishing the bags of cheese curls and wishing it would stop raining so we could go outside and grill some damn hot dogs and hamburgers. After a couple hours of this, it's pretty clear the rain's never gonna stop. So we get on the walkie-talkie to the other tent, provided by Crocodile Dundee, our guide, and we start discussing what are we gonna do. Well, one of the guys I'm with has the brilliant idea of like, well, okay, so camping seems like a bust, let's go to Atlantic City. It seems like a good idea. Here we've got fart-filled tents and empty bags of cheese curls, and only like 5 hours away is Atlantic City. So we run out of the tents and get completely soaked on the dash to the car, and 5 of us pile into my friend Brian's RAV4 and we hit the highway. Now, none of us actually know how to get to Atlantic City from Western Maryland, but we know it's east. And we know it's popular, so there have to be signs on the highway, so we go. And we're driving, and we're still having a good time, because we're all together. And when it gets dark, somebody in the car thinks, hey, we should find a place to sleep when we get there. So Chris gets on his cell phone, and he calls the Visitors Bureau of Atlantic City, and secures us after about 20 minutes of negotiation, what appears to be the last hotel room in Atlantic City that night at the Quality Inn Boardwalk. So we roll into Atlantic City and go follow the directions from the tourist board to the parking garage for the hotel. And it doesn't look quite as glamorous as I was expecting Atlantic City to look. I mean, I'm looking forward to the glittering Monte Carlo of the Jersey Shore, but it's kind of a sad high-rise with a half-lit parking garage next to it. But we park, and we're all really looking forward to going to the hotel room because we're soaking wet, we're cold, and we want to get cleaned up a little bit before we hit the casinos. So we troop down the stairwell past a mattress that we have to sort of scooch around, climb over, that has some big stains on it and smells like pee, but you know, at least that's in the garage, not the hotel, so that's not so bad. And we get our key and go upstairs, and Chris puts the key in the door and opens the door, and 6 inches in, it just stops on the chain that's chained inside the door to our room. And we can see through the little gap that there's a guy on the bed in a hotel uniform shirt and no pants, and there's another pair of legs on the bed. And there's that moment of surprise on both sides of the door, the same as when you open a bathroom stall and that you were expecting to have to yourself and you don't. And we bolt. Chris slams the door, we're down the hall. We've decided that's definitely not our hotel room, and this is not the hotel for us. So we go back down to the street, and we have to figure out what to do next. Now, of course, not only did we not know how to get to Atlantic City, none of us know where anything is in Atlantic City. Fortunately, we see down the block on the corner, there's a group of women hanging out in bras and shorts and high heels. So the group unanimously nominates Chris to go ask them for directions. Now, I wasn't close enough to hear the conversation, but I think it probably went something like this. Hey, honey, you looking for a date? No, ma'am. Thank you for asking, ma'am, but my Boy Scout troop is here to visit, and we've lost our map of the city. Can you direct us to the nearest casino? So Chris comes back with directions to Bally's, which fortunately we're only a block from the boardwalk and just like a quarter mile down from the casino. So we head out. So the Brat Pack rolls into Bally's in our soaking wet white t-shirts and jeans shorts. And we're looking for a good time, but we're at the casino, so things are picking up. And I'm expecting that we will be greeted by showgirls carrying silver trays of martinis that'll be free for high rollers like us that want to gamble. And what actually we discover is the carpets are threadbare, everything smells like smoke, and the waitresses are a minimum age of 50, have enormous hair-sprayed hair, leopard print halter tops, and begrudgingly, when asked the third time, will give us a free Coke. So we arrive at the conclusion that Bally's is not classy enough for this bachelor party. And the helpful hookers had also informed us that Trump Taj Mahal was only like another half mile down the boardwalk. So we set out to walk to Trump Taj Mahal. We get to the Trump Taj Mahal, we go in, and that's a lot nicer than Bally's. Like, the carpet's new, everything is gleaming, we can see, video gaming tables, we can see real table games way, way in the back. And, we don't want to mess around with the video gaming like we're here at Atlantic City for a bachelor party. We want to, do some actual gambling. So we head back to the table games, where we discover that most of the tables are full and we can't really squeeze in anywhere. And then when a spot does open, we discover additionally the minimum bet on the cheapest table is $15 per play. And none of us had ever been to Atlantic City or Vegas or an Indian casino before, except one guy who's literally the cheapest person I've ever met. And none of us actually have the courage or confidence in our gambling skills to put down even $15 on a blackjack table. So we sort of look sadly and longingly at the people who didn't drive 6 hours in wet clothes to not gamble. And we head for the video slots, which are only a nickel, which is more in our price range. We spend the next 2 hours giving Donald Trump the rest of our money. And eventually we are all pretty worn out and decide, since the hotel room didn't work out great, we should probably head home. So we walk our, half mile or so back down the boardwalk to the parking garage, negotiate the stairwell past the urine-soaked mattress, back in the car for the long drive home. Now the drive is pretty much a blur because I was pretty tired by that point, and I don't remember why, but we never ate. And about 2 hours into the drive, Brian, who loves his air conditioning, keeps his house a maximum of 65 degrees at all times, and wants to apply that policy in the car. And we figure, he's driving us like 12 hours in one night, so we're going to let him have that. Through the fog of my hunger and cold-induced migraine, I hear Brian turn around and say, "Oh, hey, dude, I'm sorry, I totally forgot to tell you. Mary packed you a bag. You have dry clothes. It's in the trunk." So I will say, my friends are not great planners, but they did give me a really unforgettable bachelor party. And if they were trying to make me sorry I was giving up the single life to get married, Well, that plan failed. Thank you.